Has a drug in it. Has a drug in it. My mother used to drink 4 to 5.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be a wonderful day. As you know, this is the first meeting of the convening of the New York State Commission on Community Remedies. We are so thankful for all of you. I want to congratulate all of you who have been appointed. Dr. Daniels is not here with us today, but he is watching, and we appreciate your service too and the commitment. This is officially the start off, and this belongs to you, commission members. And we here as New Yorkers are looking forward to the work that you're going to commit to over the next year, the meetings, the conversations. We know there's going to be some uncomfortable history that's revisited, but we believe that you are all up to the task. The community is up to the task to hear you, to raise however they feel about what it is that you're doing and this undertaking. But this is for New York, so we're very excited about this. I'm not going to be a part of this meeting. My name is Shirley Paul. I work for Governor Kathy Hochul. I just want to thank my colleagues who have worked tirelessly to put this together, to work through the bills, to work through the events, to helping us find the right people, the council's team, everyone. Thank you so much. So officially, we are going to hand it off to all of you. There is an agenda in the back. If you haven't had an opportunity to see it, it's the welcome followed by the oath of office, member introductions, appointments of chair and vice chair, and then the commission, whatever else the commission wishes to discuss. To do the oath of office, we have the 2 bill sponsors, Senator James Sanders and Assemblywoman Micael Salages. So what I am going to ask is that all of the commission members stand up and come line up here so you can take your oath of office. Assemblywoman, you could be on one side, Senator on the other. You can do it right after. Okay. You want to hold this?
Yes.
Okay. You can line up this way, please.
I guess we should face.
You will face them, yes. Line up this way, we'll face them. Okay.
Face. All right. Face.
Dr. Hamilton, can we just have you all on a straight line? Don't worry. Yes, please. Thank you.
Straight line.
Raise your right hand. Repeat after me and say your name in the space. Ready? I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York
And that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the New York State Community Commission on Reparation Remedies. According to the best of my abilities. Ladies and gentlemen, you are now commissioners.
You can take your seats now. I know a lot of you have your loved ones here, or you're just so excited about this, you want to take pictures. Just be mindful that this is being streamed, so we don't want to block people that are participating virtually. We're just going to hear some brief remarks. You know, legislators always want to say something and encourage you, so we're just going to give them an opportunity.
Greetings to everyone. To Governor Hochul, to Majority Leader Andrea Stewart-Cousins, to Speaker Carl Hastie, to Assemblywoman Salages, to former Assembly Member Charles Barron, to Reverend Al Sharpton, Hazel Dukes, the Black Task Force, the Black, Latino, and Asian Caucus, most of all to the organizations and the people of New York State that kept the faith. We have been gathered from the 4 corners of the earth for a meeting 400 years in the making, 400 years. But it's also a humbling moment. It's a moment where we reflect that greater people than anybody in this room was not even allowed in this building. We're not even allowed to do many of the things that you are going to do. So it is humbling, and yet here we are. And do we have a task to do? Let me teach you some new math, new math. 1 plus 1 plus 1 times 3 is not going to equal 9. It's not going to equal 9. It may equal reparations for New York State. What you're doing has significance far beyond your numbers. What you're doing is not for right now. What you're doing is for generations to come. We are in an American dilemma, and you have a place where you're helping to solve that dilemma. So as goes New York, so goes the nation. We need to set a precedent. Now, it's a complex task that you have, but let me state it simply. And simply put, your job is to find out, is there a case for reparations in New York State? And if so, what do those reparations look like? There's your case. That's what you're trying to figure out. You're going to have a mountain of information that will confront you. I remind you of the African proverb that says, bite by bite, the ants ate the elephant. So you're going to have a lot of stuff coming at you. Just take it one bite at a time. Make it bite-sized, right-sized. But to get there, my friends, you're going to have to figure out that another African proverb is so appropriate. If you want to go if you want to go fast, you go by yourself. But if you want to go far, you got to go together. And we need you to go far. So we need you to go together. To get to where you're going, you're going to have to marshal the facts. You're going to have to discipline the data. You're going to have to corral the questions. But most importantly, you're going to have to learn to disagree without becoming disagreeable. So important. We've got to learn that. Well, on a personal note, I thank God for this moment and the small role that He has allowed me to play in His much larger plan. I conclude by offering you some guidance that I've gleaned from my journey. And of course, my cards get out of order. Oh, I had it so together. You know what? I may have to do it. Thank God I found my card. Always keep your cards. In the book of Micah 6:8, God tells of His requirements for leaders. It is written, and what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God? So do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with one another so you can walk humbly with God. God bless you all. Go for it.
Thank you to the senator. He took a lot of my speech, so I don't have to say it.
There you go.
But thank you to our legislative leader, the speaker, the majority leader, and also to the governor for convening us here today. I want to take a moment to always honor our ancestors because we stand on their shoulders. And the luxuries that we have today is because they suffered many, many slings and arrows. And so I thank our ancestors. And as we move forward in this work, I see that there's a lot of hope. There's a hope to solve the injustices in our community and to be able to create a better New York for all. As we said before, and we say it all over, it's all over the building, Excelsior, ever upwards. Ever upwards we will move, unified as one, together, in solidarity. So thank you to the commissioners. Good luck on your work. Thank you to all the staff that brought us here, as well as my colleagues. Thank you, and I just look forward to the good work that you have for us in the future. Thank you.
Commissioners, start the commission.
Well, I'll jump in. It's an honor to be with all of you and have this opportunity to serve you, to do something that is unprecedented here in the state and in the nation. We've got a tremendous task before us, and I'm certain with all of us and with our dear colleague, Professor Ron Daniels, that we will deliver on the task at hand. By way of just introducing ourselves to one another, I'll let you all know that, and I think we should take a minute to do that, right?
Yes.
Introducing ourselves to one another. So I am a native New Yorker, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. And I like to say and share with people that I am a daughter of the Civil Rights Movement, as well as a beneficiary of the Civil Rights Movement. I was raised by a father who served. He was in the Army alongside Dr. King as the president of the New York chapter of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and president of the national body of the Economic Justice arm of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. So a little bit of social justice and work on behalf of Black and brown persons, mainly beginning with racial injustice visited upon Black persons in my blood, if you will. I presently serve as the president and CEO of the Federation of Protestant Welfare Agencies. And it is an organization that was founded better than 100 years ago in New York City at a time when services for people who had been marginalized were doled out based on race and religion, where you had white Jewish children and white Catholic children benefiting from organizations and government funding that was disproportionately endowed upon them, and Black children and families were left out. So I come to this work with that background. I most recently served as the chair of the New York City Racial Justice Commission. And in that work, centered on bringing about structural change alongside two of our commissioners, looking at the New York City Constitution and determining how we could work and move to change the New York City Constitution to embed racial justice and equity in core government functions. So we were not doing the work just in the moment, but trying to affect change from here on out. I'm pleased, honored, proud, humbled to serve with all of you. I know what I know, and I also know very well what I don't know. And I come to this table, again, humbled for the opportunity to learn from each of you, to do my part as I work alongside of you to achieve the change that we need, the reparations that are necessary for people who've long been marginalized, for Black Americans.
Someone once told me to not follow Jennifer Jones Austin after she speaks, and yet I'm sitting next to her. My name is Laree Daniel Favors. I'm the executive director at the Center for Law and Social Justice at the Medgar Evers College, the City University of New York, and it is truly an honor and a pleasure to be here with every single one of you, phenomenally brilliant, amazing people, and I'm excited about the work that we have before us, and it is work, and it is going to be a task. At the Center for Law and Social Justice, we're the only racial justice law center charged with the mission of advocating on behalf of New Yorkers of African descent and Black folk. And we define it broadly because being an organization based in Brooklyn, we recognize that Blackness has a roots in a variety of different spaces. Pan-Africanism has its roots all over the globe. And so we are very clear about our mission to advocate on behalf of all New Yorkers of African descent at the center. And I'm thrilled that on this commission, we are advocating for those who were enslaved here in the state of New York, those who experienced the racism that is well recounted in the opening of the legislation that brought us all together. And so that work is absolutely thrilling as an Africana Studies major and someone who has dedicated my adult career to advocating on behalf of Black people. I am excited. As noted by Jennifer, as someone who also served in the New York City Racial Justice Commission, I am also very mindful of the fact that we have a lot of challenges ahead of us. And I want to make sure that the public is aware as to how we are positioned and how we are starting. And I'm sure we'll talk more about this. But you all know we are now going to be bound by our open meetings law, which is exciting because it gives us an opportunity to have very robust conversations in the eye of the public, which I think is very important. But also, as I think about the work before us, we know that while many in our communities have an expectation that we are going to hit the ground running, the reality is we're going to have to hit the ground staffing. We're going to be seeking personnel and members who will be able to help build this out, because unlike other commissions that some of us may have served on, we are starting from the very, very beginning. And so I think it's important that the public is aware of that we're all on the same page. And public communication is something I'm very committed to, and making sure that this is as transparent of a process as I know we all are. So I'm excited about this work. Everyone here is going to say it's hard work, because we know it is going to be very challenging work, but it is challenging work on behalf of, when that phrase, we are our ancestors' wildest dreams. For me, that doesn't count for like you getting a great job. That's lovely, but I don't think our ancestors had wild dreams about that. But being able to advocate on behalf of being our ancestors' wildest dreams, transparently, openly, messily if necessary, but always with a heart towards fighting on behalf of our people, is something that I think all of us bring to this space, and I'm thrilled to be doing this work with all of you.
So I have the challenge of going after Jennifer and Lori, so it mounts. It is a proud honor. I am Derek Hamilton, the director of the Institute on Race, Power, and Political Economy, a university professor and a Henry Cohen Professor of Economics and Urban Policy at the New School. In my work, I hope it gets characterized as one that is grounded in values, rigor, and curiosity. And I hope those are some motivating linchpins for how we do our work here. I'd also say that any examination of a contemporary phenomena without notions of history are not only inadequate, they're dishonest. I think that an understanding of history of how we got here better enables us to understand that the gross inequities that exist today are not the result of inadequate people or deficient people, but rather systems of extraction and exploitation. So in our work, again, I'm proud that we're going to do the work to try to bring forth the acknowledgement, to bring forth recommendations for redress, which will have the benefit, again, of reframing inequality from inadequacies of people, but more structures and systems that exploit and extract, so that we can come up with new systems that truly empower all of us, so that we can have a human rights economy.
I have to follow all of these incredible people. And my name is Linda Tarrant Reed. I am a historian and author. I was born in New York. I grew up in New York. I wrote a book about discovering Black New York. I also wrote a book called Discovering Black America from the 21st century to, from the age of discovery to the 21st century. I'm a little nervous. My goal in being part of this commission is to make sure that the history of our ancestors, which has been largely erased, is represented, and that we're able to tell the story and do the research and do the analytics to come up with the impact of what has happened to our race and what those remedies will be and recommendations. I am also a commissioner of New York State Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. I am also the executive director of the Lincoln Park Conservancy. We are a 501c3 with a mission of preserving the history of Black America. We also feed the food insecure. The work that we have to do is complicated and really will touch the nerves of everyone. The point of this work is to make sure that our story is told, that we evaluate the harm that was done and recommend a remedy. So thank you. I am humble and happy to do this work. Thank you.
I don't think that the mic is working, so
No.
It's a problem.
is there a home?
The mic is not working?
It looks good.
Oh, okay. A prop. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
And I want to give special little shout out to, where is your daughter?
Zoe,
Where is she?
she's over there in the second row.
Would you stand up, young lady?
Zoe, can you stand up?
Come up. So this is why we're going to do what we do, and we're going to get it right, so that she doesn't have to come up, be raised, and get 25 or 30, and have to fight for rights that are hers. So thank you to your mama. And your beauty. And besides, she hails from not far from me. So I'm Linda Brown Robinson. I am the Western Region Director for the NAACP. Shout out to my girl Joy, L. Joy. And I currently reside in Syracuse. Oh, there we go. I currently reside in Syracuse, New York, but I was born and raised in what was then considered New York Hospital, and I think it has another name now. And my husband forced me to travel to Syracuse. We were only going to stay 3 years, and then we were going back, and we're still in Syracuse since 1968. Wow. So I'm very humbled, I'm very honored to be a part of this. I'm hoping to learn, but more importantly, I hope we can right all the wrongs that were done. We're not here to take away anybody's rights. We're here to make sure our rights are heard on behalf of this commission and the entire state of New York, so that our young lady from Rochester, she doesn't have to fight for what we're going to be having to fight for. As I said, we're not taking away anybody's rights. We just want our civil rights. I hope that I can make this commission proud. I don't have all the answers, and so I will look for my friends and colleagues around the state of New York, city of Syracuse, to help us mold this the way it should be molded. And I'm proud to be a part of history, because this is historical. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Zoe's mom, that's first. And I am honored to have Zoe be with us here today, 6 years old, to witness the work that we're about to embark on. First of all, let me say I'm grateful to Governor Hochul for making a bold move along with Senator Saunders and Assembly Member Solange. So thank you very much for your leadership. Yes, they deserve a round of applause, certainly do. So I'm Dr. Charnel Hawkins, and I'm a proud Brooklynite, but also lived, yes, Brooklyn all the way by way of Fort Greene projects, but also been upstate for a long time, and I'm proud to live in Rochester, New York, the home of Frederick Douglass, and certainly proud to be there. This is exciting. This is exciting that I get to work alongside all of these intelligent individuals, and really publicly, as Lori Daniels Favors says, we publicly get to tell the story. We publicly get to share what has been done specifically in New York State, and do the research, do the work, so that we can work on remedies, so that we can clear a pathway for individuals like Zoe, that they don't have to worry about this, and that there are remedies in place. So I am proud of this work. I'm honored to work alongside you, and I'm looking forward to next steps. And I look forward to hearing from the public as we get an opportunity to go around and hear your voices. And some people have research as well. Some people have been working alongside the commission doing the work, and we thank those leaders, and we look forward to reading that research as well. So thank you for this opportunity, and we look forward to this journey.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Reverend Dr. Deborah D. Jenkins. You heard the Reverend part, which means we can become very long-winded. So what I did is I took the time to write out my thoughts so that I can keep them synchronized and make sure that I express exactly my heart. I'm so pleased, and I want to start by saying all praises to the Most High God and His Son, Jesus Christ, for choosing me to represent the ancestors who were victims of the most cruel, vile, and hateful genocide and enslavement to have existed since their forerunners in the Bible. To my powerful parents who are now ancestors, my father for whom I inherited the Malcolm X spirit in me, and for my most wonderful mother who I inherit the Dr. King and Fannie Lou Hamer spirit within me, I say thank you to them. To my husband and my children for traveling here with me today, to the governor, to the Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie, to Senator Sanders, to Assemblywoman Salages, to my Assemblyman Michael Benedetto, State Senator Jamal Bailey, all of whom I've worked with for more than a decade, on the ground, never in an ivory tower, understanding the juxtaposition of scholarship and doing the work, rolling up the sleeves to ensure that our community could eradicate violence, and always able and ready to speak up and out against police misconduct wherever it may exist. I am grateful for them entrusting me with this most meaningful work, not only for the ancestors who were enslaved here in the United States, but for their descendants. Believing fully in the principle of Sankofa, I look back to the brutality of slavery throughout the nation and to the future for little children like Zoe and for their descendants like the rest of us. Having seamlessly been able to harness the power of both my own scholarship and praxis to ensure that I remain close to those on the ground, putting in their bricks, like Reverend Coachman, who traveled all the way from downstate up here today representing the U.S. Freedmen Project, and others who have traveled from downstate to be up here with us today, and others throughout the state and throughout the country who are putting in their bricks to keep the work moving forward and to be a voice for us all. I've been grounded as a sacred practitioner and a disciple of Jesus Christ, working around those who share the common goal of redress and remedies for our people. I have and continue to do deep research and study that of notables such as Dr. Sandy Darity and Kristen Mullins, Drs. Mary Frances Berry, Dr. Amos Wilson, Dr. Jawanza Kunjufu, without whom I could not have raised my children in a way to expect and believe that they were as important as anyone else on this earth. And I have concluded that with all of my work, there is still yet much that must be done. There's much work to be done beyond the programs to prevent recidivism through programs that I've designed for the formerly incarcerated and their children. Ensuring while I served on the board of a $250 million largest cooperative in the world known as Co-op City, as a member of the board of directors and as the treasurer for that same body, that I was able to work to ensure that aging seniors would not lose their homes and the opportunity to pass on that ownership to their loved ones by creating a succession plan for them to transfer their homes to them. I have what seems to be endless receipts, and I've concluded again that I repeatedly return to the notion that the debt is still owed. I represent those who not only recite Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech, but also his less taught speech where he says, America has given the Negro a bad check, which has come back marked insufficient funds. So I pledge to you, my fellow commissioners, to work in fidelity with you and indeed with our entire community to ensure that the account is made black and operational for our people. Thank you all.
It's So I was okay until the preacher began to speak. And so I find myself in a very emotional state right now. And not only for myself, I'm just going to ask for the moment that we are in right now, if we can take just a moment of silence just to ground ourselves and to reflect and allow me to gather myself. Amen. So my name is Timothy Hogues. I am currently the Commissioner for New York State Civil Service, where we are looking to continue to remove the barriers to entry for individuals into New York State government. But that's not even important as we talk about the work that we have ahead of us and the journey that the 9 of us will be on with so many of our fellow residents of New York State. So I'm from Buffalo, New York, and a couple years ago, right down the street from where I live, at Top Supermarket, an individual from outside of our community came into our community with the intention of harming individuals of color, many of which were my neighbors, have gone to church with, have grown up with, their sons and daughters and them themselves. And so we ask ourselves, why in 2024 are we still having to have this conversation? Why do we still have to have the conversation of being less than or looked upon as being less than? Why do we still have the conversation of individuals not understanding and realizing the history and the hurt and the harm and the injustices that have been done to people of color in this country for so many years? Why is a commission like this necessary in 2024? And so I am so honored and humbled to be a part of this commission. I questioned myself when they reached out to me and said, hey, we want you to be a part of this commission. Because the weight is heavy. The work is hard. This is history. If we do what we need to do and we do it correctly, this will change the lives of so many individuals. And I don't take that lightly. And I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate the opportunity to have dialogue and conversation with individuals all across the state, because your input is important and it matters as we do our work. I wish my father could still be here to see this. Growing up as a youth in the Deep South and experiencing things I could never imagine. And so I thank my fellow commissioners for saying yes and being willing to do the work. I thank New Yorkers for being willing to have this conversation. It's a very important and vital conversation that we must have. And we want to hear from everybody. We want to have frank conversation on the work that we have ahead of us. I thank my commissioners that have been through this at the city level and at some level. And I want to say this publicly, that even though we have just come together, I love each and every one of you. And as we do our work, we have to find a way to take care of ourselves, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Because the citizens of New York State, they are expecting us to do this work. And the only way that we can do this work is if we maintain and properly take care of ourselves. And so there's going to be tough times, there's going to be rough times, there may be yelling and screaming and arguments and whatever, but I'm okay with that. And I'm good with that, because it's a work that needs to be done. So to each and every one of you, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be amongst you as we continue and as we start this journey. And I pray that it leads to something meaningful and impactful. Not that we're just checking a box, right? Because we've done that. We've seen programs and initiatives that start out with great intention but end up just checking boxes. And so that's not something that I signed up for. And by our brief interaction, I know that's not something that each of you have signed up for either. And so I am a minister at Elam Christian Fellowship in Buffalo, New York, and I can be a little long-winded as well. But I just pray to our Heavenly Father, whoever it is that you believe in and that you pray to, that we do this work in decency and order, that we do this work and we allow the voices to be heard, that we do this work without being fearful of influence, and that the work that we produce at the end of the day will glorify you and do justice to our ancestors. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
We were told that Dr. Ron Daniels is listening.
Okay.
I'm not aware. Is it possible for him to participate, or is he just listening? Do we know? Just listening. Okay, very good. I've got the mic. So we've got some order, we've got some business to take care of. And the first order of business is to elect a chair and a vice chair of the commission. And so it is my suggestion, but let's put this to the group to first, to decide whether or not you would agree or disagree, that we first, before we appoint a chair and vice chair, we talk about the duties of chair and vice chair. So we know whoever takes on these respective roles, they have an appreciation, as do we, of what they've signed up for. Is that fair?
That is.
Okay, so we're in agreement?
Yes. And part of it, and we have to do this because of the legislation says so. At the first meeting of the community commission, we have to elect the chair and vice chair. Just so for those that may have not seen the legislation.
So with that appreciation, are there thoughts that people have about what the chair's role should be?
I would just suggest part of the role of the chair and the vice chair is going to be determining what the organizational structure is going to be. As I mentioned at the very beginning, we don't have any staff as of yet. That, to me, is absolutely paramount because we are going to need an executive director for the commission. Fortunately, we have a budget for this. We are going to need an attorney for the commission, and attorneys, plural. As an attorney, I don't want to be overly biased, but we're going to need some legal support, and that's something that we saw intimately with the New York City Racial Justice Commission, particularly in light of the fact that everybody, let me not name names, remember where I'm at, particularly because this is a very litigious area, and there are a lot of folks who are looking for any reason possible to shoot down what we are doing. Using the courts, we've seen how there have been attacks on everything from affirmative action for race-based collegiate admissions to filing lawsuits against Black women-led organizations that were designed to help Black women not die in childbirth, simply because they were focusing on the racial issue. So we are also going to need attorneys who will be able to help us navigate those conversations and avoid some of those minefields. And so whomever—
And to ensure compliance.
And to ensure compliance, thank you, and make sure that we're in alignment with the mandates of the legislation that gives us life. So I would suggest that the chair needs to be someone who can navigate that space, who is going to be able to help create the organizational structure. And frankly, because of the limitations of the open meetings law, and because unlike other commissions that some of us have been a part of, again, and I keep coming back to this, we have no staff at this point. Because of the constraints of the open meetings law, we're also going to need the chair and the vice chair to have a certain level of power to be able to navigate, negotiate, hire, and make decisions, which is going to require those of us who are not in the chair or vice chair position to be comfortable ceding over that power. The practicalities of how we're starting out I cannot overstate the challenge that we are facing without staff at this point. And so the chair and vice chair would need to be folks who are able to navigate that and who would be able to take on that particular configuration of the role as well.
And if I may add to that, as we look ahead to the next 12 months, that chair, the chair and vice chair also have to then have the ability to provide direction and guidance to the staff that are appointed, the staff/consultants who are appointed to these roles. Meaning that we do not have the capacity as a commission every time a consultant needs to move on a particular request put before them or a task at hand to come together as a body and say, okay, go. We have to be able to delegate to the chair and to the vice chair the ability to direct, counsel, and guide the staff/consultants in the execution of their duties.
I also believe that we probably want to consider adopting Robert's Rules of Order in order to ensure that while we see this authority to the chair and the vice chair, that each voice of each commissioner is seen as equal, and Robert's Rules of Order does that. We are to give the chair and the vice chair guidance. They are not to take this power and run with it. And so because we are limited in our knowledge of one another, that means that we have not built a level of trust. The one thing that we all at this table and Dr. Daniels in his absence have in common is that in some way, shape, form, or fashion, we are all or have been executives. So, and this work is brand new, never done before. This is not, and no disrespect to CORE, in the city of New York. This is the entire state, and we're going to consider that we're all starting at the same point, I would think. So I believe that we want to make sure that nobody's voice is marginalized because we give authority and powers to a chair or a vice chair.
Good deal, and for purposes of record setting, the commission in New York City was not CORE.
Right.
It was
I'm sorry?
The commission,
Okay.
the commission, just for purposes of record, it was the New York City Racial Justice Commission.
Right.
CORE is an outgrowth, just for record purposes.
Okay, thank you for the correction.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I also think that the chair and vice chair has to have a knowledge of how New York State works, since part of the responsibility will be to liaison with the departments of the state of New York. I think it's very important for that person or the persons to have the understanding of how to get things done. And I know that can be very difficult when you're navigating a very large, structure. But that is something that we have to keep in mind.
I think if I may, one of the points Dr. Jenkins made, Reverend Dr. Jenkins, excuse me.
Dr. Jenkins is fine.
I'm gonna try to get all your honorifics in there as much as I can. very rightly pointed out that this is different than what was happening in New York City. And I think that difference is one of the challenges that we face at the outset, which is one of the reasons why transparency with the public is so important. When we did the New York City Commission, we already had all of this in place. And that was a 20-month effort with the staff fully hired in place, a team, researchers, and the ability to pull in subject matter experts. So that was a 20-month effort after staffing. So the good Reverend Doctor rightly points out that we are in a far more disadvantaged position in many ways, because staffing, as we all know as executives, can take time. And so I think, to the extent the public is wondering why we may be harping on this, it is important for the public to know that this was not a commission that was started in the way we may have seen others started, and that is going to limit our ability and our time frame. So I just wanted to, you were exactly right on that point, and just so that we're clear as to why.
I think related to that, we need to make sure that the public, and we all agree, I've got a cough drop because my throat is challenged today. This is an independent commission. This commission is expected to act independently of the state body, the governor's office and the state legislature. Whereas other commissioners sometimes have staff who are on loan to the commission, staff who support the commission. This is a completely independent body. So we have to make sure that when we're moving, we act in that regard as well. All of our activities have to be independent of the governor's office and of the state legislature.
So as we continue defining the role of the chair and the vice chair, I haven't heard us discuss cadence and how often we plan to meet as a body, where we plan to meet as a body. And then that will certainly inform how often and how soon the vice chair and chair need to get started on establishing who the staff are. And so I think we know we have a short timeline. We have a 12 to 18 month timeline. So we need to establish that.
Just for clarification purposes, I don't want to put words in your mouth. So the cadence. Sometimes commissions, I just recently served in a commission here in New York State centered on African American history. The chair of the commission set the timeline and set the meeting dates. Would you suggest that the chair of the commission, the chair and the vice chair, have the authority to set a timeline and to bring it back to the commission for how often we meet and how we meet, where we meet? Or is that something that you want the entire commission to decide?
I think I was going to say, I think the entire commission should have some input on that.
So we should try to do that?
I think no one else should decide,
Yeah.
or 2 people, 3 people, some arbitrary figure should not just decide who should, decide for us when, where, how often we meet.
So I
That
think
should be a joint decision
before we
by
leave
this
today, we
body.
should try to set that.
Absolutely.
That might be difficult to coordinate calendars today. I think the spirit,
That's true.
I think the
cadence. I don't mean the dates. I'm sorry, Dr. Hamilton.
It's okay. I think the spirit of the chair and the co-chair should be to gather the sentiment of the group. So, we're juxtaposing the chair and the co-chair as potentially grappling power, but one of the primary responsibilities of the chair and vice chair, is to be able to understand, gather, and that's a difficult task, but that is the responsibility, not to govern on their own. So including logistics like our cadence and timing, to be able to capture those schedules, because it'll be difficult for us to do it in public with a discussion of scheduling. But a chair and vice chair could do that work and make sure that we have an inclusive process.
I would agree. I would definitely agree with that. And the operations side of it, the logistics side of it, that would weigh heavily on both the chair and the vice chair as far as the coordination and that type of stuff. I would see that being one of the primary functions of the individuals that hold those 2 positions, to make sure that we have a flow, to make sure same page as far as information distribution and next steps and that type of stuff. I really believe that is a make or break function for us to be successful.
And to your point, we have to get staff ASAP.
Yes. Because as you mentioned, we are on this through legislation, we are on this 12-month timeline, and starting today and not having individuals in place to start executing, bringing staff and support is huge.
I have one other question with respect to communications, public communications. Do the chair and the vice chair speak on behalf of the commission, or does every commissioner have the right to speak?
I believe every commissioner should have the right to speak. I think we all perhaps have different ideologies. There are going to be some nuances there, and if yours is different from mine, yours, then there is a swath of the public who will never hear if we relegate voicing to the chair and co-chair. So I believe that the public is depending on the 9 of us to give voice to what they have to say when we are able to, and to speak to them.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we're individuals with our own voices, and we should maintain those and that responsibility. But again, going back to the point, when the chair and vice chair is speaking about the commission, it is their job to represent in an inclusive way the voices of the commission. And when we staff up, a component of our staffing should be communications.
Yes.
Yes. Right, and I raised the issue because there's also the concern that we all should have, that we do not have any one of us, out there speaking on behalf or giving the appearance of speaking on behalf of the commission.
Right.
About
They
something
not
the commission does
articulate
not.
everything from all of us.
Right, and so we
Maybe
have
their
to be
individual
very,
opinion.
very careful about that.
I think we've been given some limited level of guidance on what can be said, and while we are able to determine what goes out, that's why I really believe and I feel strongly about us adopting Robert's Rules of Order, and also one of the staff hirings needs to be a parliamentarian who is very familiar with that, to ensure that everybody's voice on this commission and those throughout the state who are being represented by this commission, those who have an interest in what happens here, and is represented. And when that person hears that we might be going off a little bit, even if it means that the chair or the co-chair or both are speaking on behalf of the 9, I believe what happens before that person or those people get out there is very important, that everybody's voice has been heard. Like you said in your opening comments, Commissioner Holtz, I am not here just because, right? We have all traveled to get here, and this is serious business. We're going to have differing opinions. It's not about being individuals, Dr. Hamilton. I think we're all individuals in this entire room, but there's a fidelity to people who are doing the work, even if that means they just picked up their brick yesterday. And I believe that there needs to be a space for their voices, and not only people who, out of great respect to Congressman John Conyers, who had done this for the longest up until his death, trying to push reparations, right? So there are those who have very well-established organizations. I am of the opinion that just simply because they have very established voices in this realm of work, that should not relegate grassroots organizers to a lesser place. And that, I know that's not what you intended by saying that, but I am here to ensure that when they want to approach a commissioner, unless they are trying to push an agenda that then that commissioner comes back and speaks about, specifically about the work that is at hand, they need to be able to feel confident to hear from us. Whether it's on the record, and I don't know if that's what you mean when we're making official statements, but I'm not here to have my voice flattened by two people when we're a 9-member commission.
As I think that one of the distinctions that I'm seeing is that if I'm speaking on behalf of Loree, Loree has a lot of opinions that I should be able to and will continue to share in a variety of spaces. But if I'm putting on my commissioner hat, I can't speak on behalf of this body and say, well, according to what we're doing on the commission, Loree's opinion is da 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 da. So when it comes, for me, the distinction is if I'm speaking to the press, if I'm speaking to community members on what the commission is doing, that's one thing. What I have done in my capacity as ED for the center is I've said, now as a New York City voter, what I'm gonna do, I'm voting for this, that, and the other. Now as a commissioner, it's important for us to consider yada, yada, yada. But when it comes to official statements on behalf of the commission, to me, in my mind, I distinguish that between speaking on behalf of the commission and speaking as an individual. My other challenge with the Robert's Rule of Order, which I love, because it's predictable, it's understandable, there's a book, and it's wonderful. Most people don't know it, and most people in the public don't know it. And if we were going to have a mandate that says we're going to only move by Robert's Rules of Order, most of the people that I know in the public would not be able to meaningfully participate. So just something to consider in how we determine which rules we're going to use for how we communicate going forward.
So being cognizant of time, if I may, unless I have not spoken with these individuals, but I'm going to make if I may, a nomination of potential chair and vice chair, and that would be Dr. Hawkins and Dr. Daniels.
Dr. Hawkins as chair and Dr. Daniels as vice chair?
And in some ways, I guess we need to officially name them, but if they were to decide themselves, that'd be good. But if we need to designate at the outset who's going to serve which role, I guess given that Dr. Hawkins is here, I would go with her as the chair and Dr. Daniels as the vice chair.
So as far as Dr. Daniels not being here, and I don't know how we handle this, if the individual says, no, I don't want that responsibility, or if we've had conversation with the individual to say, yes, I'll accept.
I'd say we revisit it. I think as long as we had the leadership position settled, I think it might not be as difficult to get a partner and vice chair at that point.
So at this meeting, we're, as far as the legislation is concerned, we have to put both in place. Yeah. I don't know if that can change. I don't know if there's a mechanism for that to change down the road. If
I think we determined that mechanism.
Yeah.
I would submit that you probably can, we can probably elect a chair and vice chair, and should one of them not be able to serve in that role, in that capacity, then we can have an alternate.
I support Dr. Hawkins. I support Dr. Hawkins. I'm sorry, Linda, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I guess it was asked and answered. My question was, do we select that alternate today?
I think so.
So that we can move forward without any more delay. We're already on a time crunch.
I think we can hold on and address the chair, because I think it's really difficult to say that Dr. Daniels should be the one selected as a vice chair in his absence. If anything, perhaps he would be the alternate if there is not one sitting at this table who would desire to be the vice chair.
Isn't he listening?
And perhaps we might have others who might be interested in being the vice chair
Here's
here.
the deal. We don't have to now jump to a vote at this particular point. If there are other persons to be nominated, we should first hear if those names are being put forward, and then we can have a conversation about who are the candidates and their interest, and then a vote.
Yeah.
Well, if he's listening, does someone have his number?
He is traveling, he's abroad.
Okay, we did get that email.
And just to make it clear, Dr. Daniels had his schedule way in advance of this convening coming together. So
Yeah.
He believes that it's important and everything. So it's just not him not being here. He had pre-existing plans that included him.
Yeah, and you know, I'm just going to remind us of the time, just because, and then say, I completely agree with Jennifer's point that if there's alternatives to what I'm proposing, obviously we should consider them, and we need not go directly to a vote. But just to double down on the point of the nomination, I think Dr. Daniels has a long, dedicated career to the issue, so what he brings is a lived experience, knowledge, especially given our tight time frame, that kind of puts us in a position for success. And Dr. Hawkins, in my limited experience, it's evident to me that she brings a sentiment, a will, a spirit of collaboration and bringing people together, as well as organization, which is critical for our success as well.
I agree. I think she brings a level of expertise that we're going to need to navigate this terrain. And if in fact she's interested, I'd like to hear if in fact she's interested.
Certainly. First of all, thank you. I'm honored to even be considered. Of course, I would love to accept with everyone's support. But certainly we know there's a lot of work to do, and I would be honored to work along Dr. Daniels or whomever else. If he says no, then whomever else serves as the alternative.
All right. Are there other nominations for chair?
Perhaps one should come from, well, we have one from upstate. The assist would be downstate, so it's evenly geographically.
Understood.
Oh, that's
Oh,
good, yeah.
that makes
Yes.
sense.
That's a good
So
point.
the next nominee, selectee, whatever we're going to call it, should come from downstate.
So I think you were still staying on the chair, asking if
Right.
anyone else
Is there
desired
anyone?
to be the chair position before we moved on. Hearing none?
Hearing none.
All right.
Okay.
All
I
right.
believe we have
All
a
those in
chair.
favor?
I don't know whether to say woo-hoo or not.
So let's officially vote on it, so it's on the record. And
I nominate Dr. Hawkins to be the chair of this
I second.
And
commission.
I'll second, because I'm from upstate, I want to second that.
all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Now we can
My work is done. Thank y'all.
So the chair really officiates over the meeting, right?
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so now.
Okay. So if we could bring to the floor a nomination for the vice chair. Dr. Hamilton?
Having heard the discussion previously on the qualifications of Dr. Daniels, it would be my honor to second the nomination for Dr. Daniels to serve as vice
So a
chair.
motion has been made and second. Any discussion?
I would just throw my hat in there. I would throw my hat in there as a downstate representative who knows very well the landscape and knows many organizations. We're going to need the church, and I am well positioned within the high ranks of the church to ensure that we are able to bring large bodies out when we go from the furthest place of state to the furthest point in Long Island. And I'm just putting it out there.
So we have a second nomination. And so we've heard a nomination for Dr. Daniels and Dr. Jenkins. And so any other nominations that we choose to bring to the floor? So we still have a motion. And so I think we have, should we just do a vote? Because we still have a nomination.
So
We have a motion.
on the motion, seeing that Dr. Jenkins here, I will second, because I believe we need to get a second
That's right.
to get it there. So I will second.
It has been seconded by.
No, so here. So we have a second, we have a second for Dr. Daniels, so now I'm seconding for
Dr. Jenkins.
Now discussion.
Now discussion.
So, I have, well, I would say that I recommend that we make it, that we consider a vice chair and an alternate. And my experience, I guess similar to some around the table, has been that Professor Daniels has now for decades led around the country and internationally to bring about reparations, and his voice and his leadership in this moment could really, really help to set the pace for New York State to be a model. And so I just put that out there, but I appreciate the work of Dr. Jenkins, and I would recommend that we look at Dr. Daniels as the vice chair and Dr. Jenkins as the alternate.
And can you define alternate?
Alternate in the event that Dr. Daniels is not able to serve or determines not to serve, then Dr. Jenkins would be designated, that she would be voted upon as the person to serve as vice chair.
I think this is a very kind of awkward situation.
It is.
You have someone who is here, who is, expressing an interest in the vice chair. I know Dr. Jenkins, and she has been present at every single meeting. I understand that there was an issue with the email, and I do understand that. But if we want to make somebody an alternate, my suggestion would be to make Dr. Daniels.
I appreciate that. The only thing that I would say is that I understand firsthand, and as Dr. Daniels communicated, I understand firsthand from Dr. Daniels, and as he communicated in his emails, the leadership, the government did not have his information, and so they have not been in communication with him from the very beginning. And I do not think that he should be penalized or seen as not being a participant in this process when he has not been properly communicated with.
Through no fault of his own.
Right.
I would love to thank you for your kind words as I am literally sitting in the room. And I have great respect for the work that Dr. Daniels has done throughout this process. I believe I have sincere and legitimate bona fides in this area. Perhaps because he's my elder, I don't have as long a time. But I am very well equipped to do this. I am sitting right here. And I just ask you all not to consider me an alternate so that we can make this a really, really great working experience, and perhaps suggest that Dr. Daniels be seen as perhaps the alternate, if that is a thing.
Could we table this particular decision? Because it just seems to me like we're only in this situation because the government's failure to properly notice all of us, which again, I like saying things on the record, so let's say that. Can we make a decision to table the final selection of vice chair? Because I think everybody here is wonderfully qualified and phenomenally capable, and I don't think anyone should take anything from any vote that goes in a particular direction. But if there's a concern that he's not here, and one, we don't know what his thought is on it.
Right.
But I think that he's been doing this work as long as I've been alive, if not longer, specifically in reparations, not just in racial justice. Not that any of us are just doing racial justice work. But I'm wondering if we have to have this final decision, seeing as he's only not here through no fault of his own.
Well, I would just add again that it's not the lack of his presence. I'm feeling like I'm being relegated to may I finish, to a different status because he's been doing this as long as we've both been alive. And one of the 5 pillars of reparations as defined by the UN is rehabilitation. And if you're saying that the work that I've done in that area is less than the more global reparations approach, then say that, and I'm okay with that.
So I'm very clear with what I say, and I communicate expressly how I'm feeling. So if you don't hear those comments from me, then you should know that that's not how I feel.
Okay,
So I have
accept
absolutely no negative perceptions whatsoever about your work. I don't rank them in any hierarchy for anyone on this table. So you never have to wonder about what I'm saying. I will definitely communicate it very clearly. But my vote would go for Dr. Daniels.
And that's fine,
why.
so let's take the vote. And if it's Dr. Daniels, then it's Dr. Daniels, but I will not sit here and feel that my work is not as important.
So you should not feel that.
I don't.
And no one said it. And
I was
no
going to
one
say,
said
we
it.
have 2 motions on the floor.
So can I be real?
Yes.
So And so the question came up, hey, can we table the vice chair position? And as a commission, I think we could do.
We can.
Right, we can make that recommendation. And I think it would be important for the individual to be here, to be able to make that argument or turn it down in person themselves and say, hey, all right, this is our very first meeting of the commission, and I want to make sure that we get off on a great foot. And I think this has been great discussion. I think we have two very seasoned and talented individuals. I would just like to have Dr. Daniels present to make a case for himself or not make a case for himself as we deliberate on this and as we vote. And I agree with Dr. Jenkins as far as not necessarily putting either her or Dr. Daniels as a replacement without having that discussion with both of them being here to provide input. We've heard some from Dr. Jenkins, and I would love to hear some from Dr. Daniels. And so Chair, I would agree with, I can't remember who said table it, but I would
Are you
make
making
that
a
motion to table it until we have both the individuals together amongst us to have that discussion.
So Commissioner, we would take your statement as a motion.
So while we table it, we also have to come up with a date.
We need to.
So at the same time we have a discussion on tabling, we need to have a vote or a discussion on when, how quickly.
We should vote to
Yeah,
table it because we haven't done that. We need to make a.
But when does he return?
That I'm not aware of. The only thing that I would interject for you is and this is just a consideration.
So
I just want to say a consideration. We do not know how soon we can get back together and the work that must be done. So our chair has to be willing to essentially shoulder all of the work at this particular moment of staffing up, and doing all of the labor to get us to the next meeting, whatever that looks like. So I'm just putting that out there to you to have that as your knowledge and understanding that it is 2 months before we reconvene as a full body. I'm just using that as an example. There's work that has to be done between now and then. So whether it was Dr. Jenkins serving as vice chair or other, you'd have a second hand. Just something to keep in mind as we now take this vote.
Yeah.
So I don't, you raise your hand.
Commissioner
You want to go first and then I'll
Hamilton.
go?
I just want to echo that I agree with you, Tim. I find it difficult to vote for a person who's not here and who we don't even know if he's interested in being in that position. So I agree with table.
Right, so just a couple of things. One, the motion to table seems just from the conversation that once it's second, it will pass. But I also just want to go back and demonstrate the enthusiasm by which we elected a chair. And the understanding that although it would have, as Lori pointed out, we would be better set up for success under different circumstances. This task is not your sole responsibility.
Yes.
We appreciate your willingness to lead us, and it's our responsibility to be there with you. So that and support you and make sure that happens.
Yeah, so I was going to agree with that absence of the vice chair. We're not out on the island. I don't.
No, she's not out on an island. We're all going to be with her. We just cannot meet as a body, a full body, according to the rules.
So there are two things. We have a motion on the floor. We have a third motion now on the floor. And so we're going to entertain the motion to table the vote. And so it's been seconded by Dr. Hamilton. All in favor to table the vote?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Abstentions? Looks like it's been unanimous. Okay, so we will table the vote. I'm asking the group, can we agree to have a special meeting just for this so that we can come back together quickly and we're not waiting 2 months so that we can elect our vice chair? And so if we can try to come together within the next 30 days to elect our vice chair. And I don't know if we can do that electronically, but it's probably not. But I think that's something that we should do.
I think this might be considered a special meeting
We could have a special meeting just to elect the vice chair, so we can continue moving forward.
And we might be able to do it via Zoom.
So we just have to check as far as open meetings.
Right.
We have one.
How that works and all that stuff.
I read that we had to alert the community within 1 week.
Well, as far as virtual.
Oh, okay.
And so I
Yeah.
think there's some stuff
I think it's, yeah.
that plays into that. We just have to figure that out.
I'll learn
so
about
we
that.
are in compliance.
I'll learn about that, and then we can set a meeting within the next 30 days just for the vote.
And you just need a quorum. Right?
Yes.
What was that? Just need a quorum.
We need quorum for that.
Consisting of at least.
Of at least one, right. And that meeting would be for the express purpose of just not selecting a vice chair.
Yes. So that would be a special meeting.
All right.
Good deal.
I motion to adjourn. All right.
Do we want to take, first of all, do we have any other business that we want to discuss before we have any public comment? I'm just sorry, we're still,
Public comments?
So she just, I think you decided, is there
yeah,
anything
is there
else?
any other business for us?
Would you like public comments?
So our I guess the question would be, if our next meeting is expressly to determine and vote on the vice chair,
In the next 30 days.
will you work on scheduling our regular convenings in the meantime and be communicating, or
I
do we
will-
need to be together as a group? Because I think that's what we were saying, as far as the vice chair, the chair and the vice chair, they will help to coordinate
So there,
how we meet that.
I would work on scheduling the meeting within the next 30 days for us to vote on the vice chair. I think that would be the first order of business, and then go from there. Now, if you would like a draft, schedule of meetings, we can do that, but I think that's our first order of business.
So, and my last, I'm sorry, wait. The other piece that was brought up is the time it takes to get staff on board. And I don't know if there's a way that we can start, or you as chair can start working on. I think we all agreed on some essential, right? Or do we need to have that
I
discussion?
just think before we adjourn.
Yes, we need to
a few more
establish.
minutes to talk about.
And I don't think we have a hard stop. I mean, so.
Right.
Some may.
But
I'm right, sorry.
Actually.
I think it's important because if we're going another month,
Right.
this work should commence as soon as possible.
Yes.
To begin thinking about the roles and persons to be identified for those roles. So I'll jump in,
Okay.
building on what Commissioner Daniel Favors spoke to. Legal counsel is critically important. Legal counsel for the purpose of ensuring our compliance with the legislation, but also legal counsel that has an awareness of the legal issues that would attend outside of the legislation. Individuals who have an appreciation for what is happening in the world at large, the challenges, the threats, to efforts that are underway in this moment to bring about greater equity and opportunity for persons who've long been marginalized, African Americans in particular. So I think that we need to make sure that I'll just say that in New York City, we did not have one lawyer. We had several lawyers because there were, a boatload of issues. And that we can provide to, if you like, Chair, some information about qualifications, the types of persons that one might look for to fulfill those roles. An executive director, someone who can serve as a chief coordinator, who takes the responsibility of managing the consultants and the staff, as well as working to manage our calendars and communications with the commissioners. A third person, as Commissioner Hamilton spoke to, someone who oversees and directs communications, serves as the point person for the commission when we are receiving requests for information from the public, from media, someone who can actually access and engage with the media when we're trying to get information out. Additionally, we had people who were well-versed and steeped in policy, and I would say that here, policy looking at somebody who maybe is a resident historian to work alongside those with expertise. Other considerations that I would just throw out: analysts, people who are have the analytical capacity to run the numbers, look at the data, etc. Community engagement, officers, director of community engagement, personnel, someone who is the point person that helps us to think about how we are engaging with the community and ensuring that the voices of the community are heard. And then the last thing I'll say is that we need to make sure that we have a scriber. Somebody, a scribe slash secretary, somebody who is really staying on track of what we're doing and ensuring that what we're doing is properly reported, and we're dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
The other piece that I think is missing is that we need to establish the budget as far as how much we're going to allocate for salaries, transportation, all types of community engagement. And so are we working on that jointly to put that together? Is that an expectation that we hire someone? Is that an expectation that I take a first draft at it and that the commission looks at it and we all have input?
I would just say you could look to your executive director / someone who performs in that role, executive director, kind of like a COO.
We still need to establish what the salary would be.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that that's somebody
Yes.
who then could help you to set that structure up.
Yeah.
And we also need a parliamentarian.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'd say operationally, I'm not sure that we should necessarily have this conversation right now. I think that individually, there are, right, I think that there are a great number of resources that should consult with the chair to help design an approach for us to achieve these things. For example, Dr. Jenkins and Jennifer, I think, have some experience, as well as some other commissions that have existed. So we clearly need infrastructure, but I doubt that we as a committee can define that infrastructure right now in a debate forum. And at the risk of going on, I'll just put a button on it and say, with some time to think about it and consult us as individuals or various other entities that have done this, come back with a well-defined plan and, again, take the message that we trust your leadership and expect that you in consultation can bring us something.
So I will say that I do think the operations position is very important, whether it be executive director or whatever title that we give it, to provide support, direct support and relief for the chair and the vice chair of the organization, as well as we start to talk about communication and how do we make sure that we are properly informing the public, we're engaging with the public and that sort of thing, and the legal. So the first three that you mentioned, I think that we need to get going on that as soon as possible. Then I think we can figure out the rest of the legislature.
So just in terms of subject matter expertise, what was very helpful in past iterations of similar work was having people who had done some, perhaps were familiar with the legal framework of truth and reconciliation commissions, perhaps who are steeped in how other racial justice or reparations type commissions have functioned in other jurisdictions, both here in the States and abroad. I know that's a subset of a subset of a subset of attorneys, but I just wanted to specify on the record that we would want people who understand the interworkings of race, class, history, and can appreciate how to manage that within a legal framework.
not to disparage any of my other fellow attorneys out there, but we need a specific subject matter expertise when it comes to the legal team.
And I just wanted to say, I think a project director would be a great position so that they can oversee probably the content and really kind of organize stuff and stay on top of it so that people can report back to them when we start hiring subject consultants. And also I think the communications, community outreach goes under communications. So the communications department or section would have community outreach as one of their duties.
Any other points?
Just, again, I would say the parliamentarian, we need one,
And an economist, right?
and an economist.
You
And
said that.
researchers. Researchers, in subject matter.
Yep.
I would just like to say I'm delighted that you are the chair.
I am too.
Yeah. I'm honored. Okay. Next meeting, job descriptions, we'll have all that done. Be ready. Do we want to open the floor to the public? I'm sure, what is our time?
Yes.
Okay.
With the understanding that some commissioners may have to
Yes.
depart.
We'll give, 10 minutes for the floor?
I just want to know, at the next meeting, when you're voting for the vice chairperson, is that going to be open to the public as well? Or is that going to be a closed session?
We'll be open to the public, and we're going to try to make that meeting virtually, if we can do that.
Also, when they have the meetings to the public.
You want the microphone?
We need the mic because.
Oh, microphone, right.
Where's the mic?
The first question I asked was, the meeting going to be open to the public when you have the vote? And I think that you responded to that. The second question I have is about transparency. When you have the meetings, how will the public be able to know that you guys are going to have the meetings? Will it be posted? How are we going to advertise it? Because this was like a needle in a haystack for me to find out about this meeting. And moving forward, how would I be able to attend meetings? Also, will you be having all the meetings here, or is there going to be other places?
That's a great question. It's a great question. The commission does have a website. We do know the commission has a website. We're required to provide 72 hours notice of a meeting. I know that, and so I think we'll have to look to our state partners to learn how else we can promote the meeting so that you all are aware, but everybody
I
agree
would
with
just
that.
add that to your point, that's one of the roles of the communications and
Yeah.
community engagement personnel. The communications, if we have somebody overseeing communications and community engagement, that will be one of the responsibilities. That should be one of the responsibilities to make sure that we are have a setup where the community at large has knowledge of what the commission is doing on a continual basis, when meetings will be held, and to the extent that we can provide a schedule well in advance, we would aim to, I would think we would aim to do that as well.
Would that person be on board for the next meeting that's going to happen?
No.
Probably not.
I think I wanted to say, based on the information we've received, every public meeting has to be noticed. It has to be published in a place. There probably will be a link on the website, Reparations Commission, that will take you to that link. But besides that, it has to be publicized. It has to be put in paper. You know, that's
So-
something
Once we get staff, we'll get better at this.
Sure,
This is the first meeting.
that is something we will.
Commissioner Hodges.
So it is our desire to make sure that the public is well informed of our meetings. We understand that this one was a little rough as far as us coming together and individuals that were organizing us to come together. But when you asked about will we be meeting here every time, no, we will not. If you look at the legislation, it talked about us going across New York State, so being in various parts of the state to get input from individuals and have that opportunity for them to have access to us. As far as the website, we know that not everyone will go to the website, so we will be able to figure out ways to post and have the meeting information in areas that individuals will be able to see it. And if there are recommendations for where and how, I believe the chair will be open to receiving that, and whatever is practicable for us to do, we will make sure. Because once again, we want to get the voice of the public.
And I also think that all meetings will be streamed. So there will be a place or, a link, probably on the Recreation website, when we have meetings in other locations throughout the state. I think you're going to be able to hear.
Will the public be able to send in questions at that point?
Well, that is something that.
So if we, please don't hold me to it. So yes, so if we are holding virtual meetings, there has to be a way for public comment to come in that way. If on the agenda we say that we have a portion for public comment.
We want to acknowledge that we have a question over here, and then I think we'll have room for one more question after that.
It's not mainly a question. It's just this is the first meeting, and already there's a lot of miscommunication. I mean, the person that was supposed to be here, it sounds like the information didn't get to him either in time. Just moving forward, as far as the public is definitely very emotional. This is everyone's lives. All of us are in the field. Just moving forward, you have to consider the public. You have to. Because you guys are representing us right now. And just seeing this meeting right now, there's a lot of concerns already that I have. So it's just something that you guys definitely have to work with each other, because again, communication is key. And just seeing within this first meeting, you guys definitely got to work on the communication, because you guys are the voices for us moving forward.
I just want to say, for the record, we were all as similarly uninformed about what was happening as was the public. And so, yes, that's one of the reasons why getting a communications team on board, and again, this is why I keep coming back to not having staff before we were convened, is a challenge. Because we were all similarly, and I'm going to say late, noticed in the same way that the public was. And I know that there is a spirit of let's play along and get along, but I'm going to tell the truth. A lot of us didn't find out about this until last week. So that's right, but saying that to say that's with the structure that existed before we were convened.
Right, and you guys are here to change that now.
Yes.
You guys are here to change that now.
Okay.
So moving forward, I guess the next meeting, definitely, that should be something that's key, because that's a problem within just our history in general. We don't get all that information at all. We really don't. And if we do get the information, it's like a telephone game. All this is misinformation. So just the front, like basically the attitude, or just what you guys are doing is you want all the information. You guys should be getting that information equally, and just as much as you guys is the public. Because there's going to be 10 of me. There's going to be 10,000 more, 10 even more stronger than me that's going to come in here, and it's going to ask you all these questions. And we're going to bring that. I know I am, because I just know I am. Right now I'm a resident, but I do work for the city, and there's a city of Albany, we have a lot. There's a lot to talk about.
And so if I may as well, part of the law that makes sure that the public is informed is part of rules and regulations that prevent us from getting coordinated without the public being present. So when we talk about the open meetings law, so I forget how long ago that we were presented with the opportunity that we're going to be in panel to do this work. And so legislation in place doesn't allow us to come together and have dialogue, to figure this stuff out, to be prepared to have a first meeting that is well planned and organized and that type of stuff. So this is essentially
us coming together saying, hey, how you doing for the first time, and figuring it out. And so as far as us putting out communication, the commission itself did not put out communication, but the expectation, to your point, going forward, is that the commission is an independent commission and will do those types of things. So will we do it perfectly every time? Right? But your input is valuable to us and important to us so that we can continue to improve and get it right. Because this, like you said, this is very important work and it impacts individuals' lives.
There's so many good people that's going to come and try to just take this whole thing from us, just in general. They're going to spin it. It's just more about just you guys are really working as a unit, you guys working as one, but then also being that voice for us because we're going to get lost.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I just have a question. I think it would be good to make it available for the public to call in with comments, because everyone can't come, physically come. So there should be a way where those who have comments to make should be able to call in. Because this is the reparations, this is for the community, right? So we all need to be able to give our input and also to call in with our input because we want to be heard. Thank you.
I certainly, as we take our last question, I certainly imagine a place for community members to make comments and for us to get that feedback prior to the meeting, for you to ask questions so that we can be in a more organized fashion and have the questions ahead of time. As we all said, this is our first meeting, first gathering, and so we do plan to get better as we go along. So thank you for your support, your patience, and we're looking forward to being on this journey together and getting better every single meeting. And if we're not, we want that feedback. We certainly want that feedback from you. I know this gentleman right here has been waiting, and then we'll take our Commissioner Daniels' favors and prepare to adjourn.
So a couple questions and then a couple of observations I'd like to make. First question is, what was today's mission? Clearly, what was the objective for today?
To elect the chair. Yes.
And vice chair. So we didn't accomplish that today. Yeah. So we didn't accomplish that today. And I'm going to say to you that we have a willing, ready, and able body here. There are always going to be people that can't be available at certain points in times. I don't think that it diminishes the contribution that any particular person would make. If people have preferences for a vice chair or whatever, it wouldn't diminish that person's contribution to this body if that person isn't able to serve in that. But I think it's important to always fulfill your mission at each meeting, because otherwise it's a short time frame. It's a very short time frame to get the work done that you need to get done. So I understand that it appears that people have preferences for certain things, but you're all here equally. That's the most important part, and your contribution has got to be effectively equal or at least valued in the same way. And so when you have people that are here willing and able, and I would have liked to have seen that for any position, that it first be asked who's willing to serve in that position before someone just decides, I'm going to nominate someone. That's just, to me, inappropriate, right? You want to know who really wants to serve in that position before you just decide we're going to nominate someone. So let's pay attention to what we're doing, because we are in the public view, right? And to say that, I hope that in the next meetings, people are more organized and more informed, and that we can just move forward more effectively, because the time frame is so short, and we're going to hold you all accountable in terms of that time.
Thank you. Commissioner Daniels.
Yes, and thank you so much for that comment. And I think that's one of the reasons why Commissioner Hogues referenced the fact that by law, we were not able to have conversations ahead of time to ascertain a lot of this information. And as I've said before, and I'm just going to say it, some things feel like a setup. Right? Like some things when you look at how, I'm going to say it because I'm going to say it. Some things feel as though they could have been set up far better for success. And it is important for us to acknowledge the fact that we sometimes have an unserious approach to very serious matters. And when that unserious approach is something that we are subjected to but did not initiate, I think the public should know that. Because I think your point is absolutely on point. So I just, and I have not conferred with any of my fellow commissioners on this point, this was not set up with the best of launches, as it should have been, in my personal commissioner perspective. But however, here we are. We're gonna make the best of it. We have an amazing chair who's gonna be phenomenal. And when it comes to the voices of the people, so one of the things that I've done when it came to redistricting, and the Center for Law and Social Justice was the convener of Black New Yorkers for Fair Redistricting, we had to teach our people how to submit testimony. We had to teach our people how to get those comments in, because there are some ways that we can take comments that are really effective and others that are less effective. So we had to talk to folks about, when you testify, if there's a 3-minute limit on testimony, please don't spend 98 seconds talking about who you are and how many kids you have and where you live, because you don't miss over half your time getting the information. So what we are going to need, Madam Chair, if I may suggest, what we are going to need are community representatives, those who are holding up this work and those who are side-eyeing a little bit, because we understand the side-eye is necessary every once in a while or for a long while. We also need to teach our folks, how do you testify at a commission meeting? If there's a 3-minute limit, it's a 3-minute limit. And if you want to say something more, you might have to write it out. Some of us are better speakers than we are writers. We might want to talk to text. We all got these little devices. You can talk your ideas into your phone. It'll type it out for you. Have somebody from your organization help look it over, make sure it's done grammatically correct, and submit it written testimony. But because there is so thousands, I'm expecting millions of you, sis, not just thousands, I'm expecting millions. If there are millions of people, the limitations alone require that we also as a people be disciplined in how we manage and demand the change that we need. So one of the things we will also need, please don't have people running up in the meeting wanting to have a 45-minute testimony time, because it's not going to happen. And if their emotions are not managed effectively, they're going to feel as though the process let them down, when frankly what they wanted to give into the process did not have the institutional structure to sustain and accept. So it's going to have to be all of us working together. I got my staff back home working on how are we going to teach people how to submit their testimony to the Reparations Commission? How are we going to teach people how to find the meetings for the Reparations Commission? Because half of us couldn't find it either. So I think, again, I'm transparent, we're going to be honest, but we are going to need to make sure that it's the oral testimony. There will be opportunities for written testimony. Hopefully, our communications team will also have some social media expertise, and we'll be able to make sure that on Instagram, Twitter, or Snap, whatever the kids are using, TikTok, whatever it is, that we'll be able to get it out there as well. But again, I'm coming back to the staffing component. I want us to make sure we are clear, that we have an understanding of what is happening, what can happen, what the limitations of the open meetings laws are. The brother pointed out, we can't have a quorum and be making side deals and having meetings and agreements, and y'all don't know about it, because then they're coming for us, and I love y'all, but I don't love y'all enough to give them a livelihood. So there are things that constrain us, that will require us to be open. It is going to be bumpy, and while the beginnings are less than auspicious, the life of this body can be dynamic, can be amazing, and we can have some of the most phenomenal outcomes, because we are here to work on behalf of people like the millions who I know that y'all are going to bring. But we got to make sure as we bring our millions that they are prepared to make the best of this process and not use it as a, sometimes we have seen that these spaces can be more emotional therapeutic sessions, right? And maybe part of reparations is we need group therapy. I'm willing to support that. But the hearings are not necessarily going to be set up to take that sort of emotional unburdening. And so we got to know that, and we got to know how to prepare our people to be as effective as possible as we engage.
So I just appreciate everything that you said. I appreciate everything that has been said by those who've spoken on behalf of the public. And all of this is now giving me greater concern about the timeline. And the fact that we have now determined that we are going to come back in 1 month for a special meeting with the express purpose, the sole purpose of determining a vice chair. If we let a month go and we are only centering on a vice chair at the next meeting, and we have not at that next meeting decided upon a process for community engagement, for outreach, we haven't determined a timeline that takes us through the 12 months, we are setting ourselves up. We are participating in our own failure and demise. Because we'd have to go then another month or 2 months to agree upon a process to agree upon a cadence, the outreach and engagement across the state of New York. And so I would just, I would ask, Chair, that we consider that this not just be a special meeting, that we come back in the next month, and that in that next month's meeting, in addition to deciding upon a vice chair, we make a determination about a process, what that looks like, a cadence of meetings, a schedule of meetings that take us around the state so we get going.
Absolutely. Any further comments from the commissioners before we adjourn?
I agree as far as time being of the essence and us having to do the work and being able to support you as chair to do this in the absence of staff.
Absolutely.
It's critical, so.
Thank you. Yes. Together, we will get this done.
Absolutely.
Any other commissioners want the floor?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So moved. So adjourned.
A meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.